5 o'clock somewhere. Hey guys, welcome to the Thrifty Spice! We are in full swing of the holiday season. Take a shot every time I say holiday season. So what better way to kick off this series by showing you how to make a chocolate bourbon pecan pie. And we're gonna make everything from scratch and we're gonna make the dough by hand. So to make the dough, here's what you're gonna need. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, 1 very cold stick of unsalted butter, and around 4 to 6, 7 tablespoons of ice water. So first thing we have to do is cut up the butter. And the main thing to keep in mind about making any kind of pie dough from scratch is that you want everything as cold as humanly possible. So right now I'm just cutting up the butter into little tiny pieces. I'm gonna put it on a plate. I'm gonna throw this in the freezer for 15 minutes and then we will proceed with making the pie. So I just took my butter out of the freezer and it's plenty cold enough to work with. Now let's go on making the pie crust dough. I'm putting my measuring cup in the flour, scraping off the excess. And that's about 1/2 cup. I got my sugar and kosher salt. And just mix it up just a little tiny bit. And now I'm gonna add the butter. And I'm gonna go in there with my pastry cutter. So you just wanna get the butter really nicely incorporated into your dough so it resembles the size of small peas or like cornmeal. And yeah, just keep doing your thing. And now you need to add the ice water. I add about 4 tablespoons and then I add a little bit more and I get in there with a fork because you don't want to disturb it too much with the heat of your hands because it's going to warm up the dough too much. And just form it to a nice ball of dough. And then I take it out onto my work surface and I'm just gonna gently knead that together. And then you just gotta stick it in some plastic wrap and form it into a disc to get your head start, and yeah. Alright, so while that bad boy is chilling away in my fridge, we're gonna proceed with making the filling for the chocolate bourbon pecan pie. So here's what you'll need. So I got 1 cup of whole pecans that I just chop up pretty fine. 1 cup of chocolate chips of your choice. I just use semi-sweet or dark chocolate. 2/4 cup of granulated sugar, and I use 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. 1 stick of unsalted butter that was melted. 4 large eggs. Got 3/4 cup light corn syrup. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 3 tablespoons of bourbon. I'm just gonna add both kinds of sugar, my melted butter. I'm just gonna whip that up really quickly. I'll add the light corn syrup. And then I'll add the eggs. Just add a couple teaspoons of vanilla extract, and it's a new vanilla extract, so I'll take off. There we go. In the mix. You gotta add 3 tablespoons of bourbon. 3 tablespoons of that sucker. Just whip it up. Yummy. And I also forgot to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, now it's time to roll out our chilled pie dough. It's beautiful. I can see the little bits of butter. Yum yum. Let's take this out of plastic wrap. Have your flour right beside you. Sprinkle just a little bit on your work surface because we don't want anything to stick here. I'm gonna put some on top, bottom, and even flour my rolling pin. All right, so this is how I do it. I just start smacking away basically. Just rotating it, just to make it, just so you're able to roll out. I put a little bit of flour down each and every time I'm rolling out, and I go from the center out and I'm just rotating it every time. And a little bit more flour. So So I just keep putting down a little bit of flour at a time each and every time I roll, and just rotate the dough as I'm doing that. And yeah, it's pretty easy. I got my pie dough all rolled out, and I'm gonna take my pie tin, put it in the center, and it acts as a guide. You can tell that, okay, that's enough pie dough. This is how I do it. I just fold it over like that, and then it's a good way to brush off the excess flour. Fold it again, brush off that excess, and you see that little point right there? You wanna put that right in the center of your pie tin, and there you go. Easy enough. Then I just go ahead and trim off the excess dough, leaving about 2-inch border to work with, and then I do the tuck under method. I'm just tucking under all around the pie shell. It's really easy. And then I do a little crimp action, a little crimpage. Yeah, why the heck not? Definitely throw this pie shell into the freezer for about 15 minutes just to ensure that everything is cold and the pie shell won't shrink up on you as it bakes. Okay, so I just took my chilled pie dough out of the freezer, and now we're ready to put in the filling. So here's how it goes. It's really simple. I just throw my pecans right at the bottom of the pie shell, like so, as well as the chocolate chips. Kind of try to evenly distribute it as best as you can. So what I love about this recipe is that the chocolate chips, they all sort of like have their own layer at the bottom of the pie, so when you bite in, you're like, oh, that's chocolate. So we're gonna add in our filling, just like so. Just make sure it doesn't overflow. You might not need to add the whole thing. Like I'm gonna leave some left over. That's perfect. That's totally fine. And then we are going to bake this on a aluminum foiled lined baking sheet. Throw that bad boy into the oven for about an hour. You'll be able to tell it's done when it's just a little bit wobbly in the center. It's a little jiggly, and it's good. It's fine. It'll set. It's pie time! Okay, this guy was in the oven for about an hour and 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes a little longer to cook. That's fine. This pie really is best eaten cold, so you should definitely make this a day in advance, or make it really early in the morning and serve it at night and just let it chill in the fridge. And yeah, you really can't go wrong. What can I say? Look at that. It's just like... So I really hope that you give this recipe a try. Let me know if you do, and I will catch you later. And I'm gonna go back in for some more pie. Tell me when you're coming back again.